So RTDs have taken the adult beverage industry by storm, and they are disrupting the value and volume trends in the segment. So with me today to talk about them is Kaleigh Theriault with NIQ, who spoke yesterday at our on and off premise adult beverage session here in Florida. So thank you for joining us. And to start off, what's going on in the RTD segment?
RTDs, ready to drink. Those three little letters that have had a huge impact across beer, wine, and spirits. And first, I want to start by defining what RTDs are within our definition at Nielsen IQ. And our definition will be pretty expansive and will include those malt-based hard seltzers. It will include flavored malt beverages, or FMBs, as I'll probably call them. And then it will also include both spirits-based and wine-based ready-to-drink products. So canned cocktails, a little bit of canned wine, the fruit-forward wine drinks as well that might be in a Tetra Pak. Really expansive across the industry. Okay, and what's happening within each of those trend-wise, sales-wise? Yeah, I think we'll start with hard seltzers. We'll get these negative trends out of the way, but that's a segment that's been declining for the past couple of years. You know, during COVID and that at-home time, hard seltzers took off, and they really started to define this ready-to-drink category, or sometimes I call it the fourth category that we're looking at here. Hard seltzers, though, sort of falling out past their maturity curve, but we still occasionally see some different innovation trends pop up, especially on the flavor side of things. Then we have flavored malt beverages, and those have existed, I would say, the longest. For years and years, you've had some type of cooler, is what they were once called. Like I remember the Zima. In the old days. Yeah. Everybody goes to Zima or Bartles and James. But those products have existed for quite some time. And really, once hard seltzers took off, we saw an additional boom come through on the flavored malt beverage side. And over the past year or so, a lot has come through within the hard tea space. And we see two types of hard teas. There are ones that are full of sugar and really tasty and have a lot of flavor. But then we're also seeing some better for you options within that space. Ones that have lower amounts of sugar. They might be mixing them with some natural sweeteners and things like that. So we're seeing both sides of the spectrum within that, as well as things like hard sodas. And we're starting to see a little bit, a few brands, I guess you could say, that have taken their soda brands and launched in that hard soda space too, finding some success. And then we have spirits-based RTDs, which are all the talk of the RTD town right now, where we see all sorts of alcohol bases, vodka, tequila, rum, whiskey bases, all finding really significant growth within that spirits RTD space. That's really where it's driving a little bit more of a premium price point too, which I know we'll get into. Okay. Well, yeah. So you know, you talk about in your presentation, you mentioned there's moderation, premiumization, and then this worry about economic times, right? How do RTDs fit within those trends, those overarching trends? Yeah, I guess the other piece we can talk about related to moderation are non-alcohol ready-to-drink products. That we've also seen a huge boom in the number of products that fall within that space. So it's a canned mocktail of sorts. But the uniqueness about those is that they can work really well as a mixer to a cocktail too. So if you're anything like me, you're not an at-home bartender, those are perfect products, and you can choose, the amount that you want to put in it. Or if a consumer doesn't want alcohol for the occasion, they can just open it up and it's a nice tasty cocktail, or gives the experience of a cocktail without any of the alcohol. So moderation is really playing into that trend. And then premiumization is one you mentioned. And I would say how we're seeing premiumization come through in the ready-to-drink world is that those hard seltzers typically had a lower price point, those malt-based ones. And since those are falling out of the market and sort of being replaced by spirits RTDs and a lot of consumer repertoires, those come at a more premium price point for the number of cans you get, or the price per pack size. So what once was a 12-pack of malt-based hard seltzers is now only an 8-pack of a spirited-based option. But people are spending the same amount. And so we actually see people spending a little bit more, but getting a little less on the volume side. And so they're sort of moderating through that trend. But then it's also a premium experience for somebody too. Yeah, it's interesting when you mentioned before the moderation part of the RTDs. A friend of mine with NA RTD line, she was on QVC recently, and her and the host, as they went through each drink, they also talked about which spirits would go best with it. So, and other people that I've spoken to in the space, they always talk in the context of both. On their own,
but as a mixer as well.
Definitely, and that comes through on the consumer side, where we actually see the people that are buying non-alcohol products are still purchasing alcohol containing.
Yeah.
So it's somebody that's seeking out that idea of moderation in their consumption and not necessarily, you know, one or the other, but it's a combination of both, depending on if they're looking for, you know, a casual or non-alcohol occasion, or if they're looking for more of that party
Cool.
drink.
Well, what's happening with RTDs on premise?
Yeah, on-premise is interesting. We always talk about where trends begin, whether it's in the on-premise or off-premise. And RTDs was a unique one because the first seltzer brand popped up in the off-premise before making it to the on-premise. But what I'll remind everybody is that the basis of a hard seltzer is a vodka soda, and that's one of the most popular cocktails in the on-premise. So the trend did originate there. But what we're starting to see now is I would challenge anybody that's watching to find a bar or restaurant that does not have a hard seltzer or a canned cocktail on their menu. They're definitely really popular in the on-premise, and typically there's a couple of different brands to choose from or a couple of flavor varieties. So they're definitely finding their place within those venues, as well as some of the experiential bars that allow, you know, the quick and ease of, you know, serving a cocktail without having to have the bartender spend that time making the cocktail.
Well, I think that's part of it. Two things that I want to bring up. One is I think that also the pandemic helped accelerate RTDs on premise because of the it's more sanitary.
Yep.
Right? They would serve it, they're wearing gloves, they're not touching too much, they're not messing around with things. So I remember all the bars in my neighborhood, they were serving outdoors, and it was always a bucket with RTDs. But the other thing is, I think it also on premise, RTDs give an establishment the capability of having a broader menu where they could try different things out. And I mean, one reason I see that is because not from RTDs, but canned beer.
Yeah.
But we have a one bar in my neighborhood that it's got, I think, a dozen taps that they change every week, but 700 different varieties of beers.
Wow.
So it's a beer place. It's a place where people that are into beer go, but there's no way they could have 700 taps.
Right.
So it lets them extend what they have, but same thing for a regular bar. It's not a lot of work for the bartenders. They can just go and get it. So it's a little more variety.
Exactly.
So that's one of my theories. Anyway.
That quicker serve for somebody, and it's also, if you are at an experiential bar where you might be playing pickleball or putt-putt, it makes it so you don't need an open container. It's a very contained, you know, in its can too. So I think there's a lot of uses for it. Or if you're at a concert or something, it's really quick to go up and get a drink similar to how a beer would be served.
Awesome. Well, a lot of innovation in this space, so something to keep an eye out for.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.